7 individuals have been apprehended in connection with numerous incidents involving the LGBTQ plus community. These arrests stem from the abduction of an 18-year-old student in Johannesburg, with reports indicating the victim was enticed through the Grindr dating application. To provide some insight and reaction to this, we're joined by Sibonelo Ncanana from the Human Rights. He's the Human Rights Coordinator for Out LGBT Wellbeing, and he joins us virtually from Tata in the Eastern Cape this morning. Sibonelo, thank you so much for your time this morning. When I read this story this morning, I had goosebumps thinking about what this young man must have gone through, and indeed his family. I believe an alarm was raised by his roommate that reported him missing on Tuesday. Thankfully, this had a happier ending. Your reaction to this latest story of abduction?
For me, I had no goosebumps. For me, it's something which is happening. It is happening a lot. So it wasn't surprising seeing that story online where somebody is being brutally attacked. It's just that it made it online. For me, it happens quite a lot, and it's quite concerning also that it's now even spreading even to other provinces, where we even see provinces like the Eastern Cape in Port Elizabeth, where people are also reporting that they're being abducted and also being held for ransom, and also being families being asked for money.
Talk to me about what the modus operandi is. If this is the kind of thing that is happening all the time, there seems to be a system by which these young people are being lured. What do you know about the approach that they're taking?
It's happening, and I think criminals are catching on that the queer community, or people who are homosexual, most of them are not out, so meaning that they are still in the closet, and that's what they then use to lure these victims. For example, profiles like where they will write, I'm in the down low, I'm not out, I am straight acting, and so on and so on. Those are the ones also that are being targeted, because they know that these individuals are probably have not felt comfortable to come out to their families or to friends, so that they know that they are afraid, so they will pay. Most of them pay, and maybe that's why you don't get reports out in the media, because most of them pay and they choose not to report, because they are scared that even if they report, nothing is going to happen. And we're quite happy with also with what the SAPS, or the work of the SAPS, working with the private security company, what they have done, and I hope that they use the same intelligence in trying to crack down this syndicate, because it's quite a lot of people. It's not just only happening in Gauteng.
This speaks to a far deeper issue than just, oh, there's a need for greater security when people are allowed to set up profiles on Grindr. You paint a picture there of this coming as a result of there still being deep-seated stigma that so many of our young people who find themselves in the LGBTQ plus community still find themselves, and that put them at risk in situations like this.
Yes, it does, because most of the time, even the community is not going to be doing anything about it, because they'll feel like, no, it's just a small thing, or it's just a gay person, and they just brushed it off. But it's happening, and it's quite concerning.
From a short-term and long-term point of view, what can be done to try and stem this horrible tide of these kidnappings and far worse that are happening to our young people who feel that they have no other outlet to allow themselves to be who they are in the communities they find themselves in?
I think there's still a lot of work that needs to be done in engaging the community, in starting community dialogues, so that the community starts understanding that these are people, and also the people who find themselves as homosexuals know that there is absolutely nothing wrong with them, with their sexual orientation or how they identify or their gender identity. But I also think that more work needs to be done also by the app itself to vet the people that have profiles within the app, because by it not being vetted, any Tom, Dick, and Harry can just have a profile, and then they could be a criminal or could be doing it for other reasons other than trying to find a life partner or trying to find a person to spend some time with. But also, I think SAPS needs to up its game in using intelligence to crack down on these cases, because they are happening quite a lot, and it's concerning that even in Gauteng, SAPS is struggling. Can you imagine in a small town like Mthatha or Willowvale, what will be happening there, where police stations are in deep rural areas? Most of the time there is no network. And also a caution to people who are on Grindr, that they at least tell somebody, tell a friend when they are going on these Grindr dates, because I think with this case, the ones that was just cracked now, it was the luck that the person who was kidnapped had told someone. And I think people should start doing that when you are going somewhere, or when you are going on a Grindr date, and not only a Grindr date, even Facebook dates and Telegram dates. Tell somebody, so that when you don't come back, they know that somebody is missing.
It's just such a sad indictment that, again, this is another space that we cannot be free and that we cannot be safe. It's just last night I was watching a show on a streaming network, and there was a scene where a young man was being dropped off at university, and the first thing he did was open his phone and checked his Grindr notifications. And much like Tinder, has just become one of those apps that everybody knows. It's made it easier to meet people in these difficult worlds that we now operate in. But yet another space that is not completely safe, because we just can't trust anybody. It's kind of heartbreaking, isn't it? Especially in an even more difficult space that young people who perhaps are newly in the LGBTIQ plus community find themselves in.
Yes, it is unfortunate, and I think it's also just it's a bigger problem. The problem of crime in South Africa, it's really becoming a real problem. But also a crime like this being inspired by hate, being inspired knowing that this group is vulnerable, being almost categorizing this as a hate crime because they are targeting specifically these young people, but also not young people. Hey, it's also the people that are being abducted are older people or older males or older men who are still in the closet, and those are the ones who normally won't report these cases. For example, this one probably didn't, because they didn't have the ransom money. Maybe that's why they even sent out a video. With others, they don't even need to send out a video, because if I am kidnapped today and I have the means in my bank account, I will pay, rather than having my family know, rather than having my community know, because I have been living a life that trying to please the community instead of living a life that is my life. So it is an unfortunate thing, but also with the crime rates that we are having, it's showing in every way that we are not safe, and it's not only the LGBTI community, also just women and children find themselves being kidnapped because of kids having Facebook pages and so on, and being on social media. So social media itself is no longer a safe space.
Just in closing, Sibonelo, are you hoping that this story gaining this kind of attention will send a warning out to young people as to what they need to do just to ensure that they're safe?
I hope it does send a warning, but also I hope that they don't get bail, because the sad thing is that they might be getting bail on Monday, and they might be out on the street, and they might be looking for this young man who's still also just recovering, who's still critical and recovering, which is quite sad as well, because the police will arrest them today, but tomorrow they'll be getting bail on Tuesday.
Yeah, the sad reality of life in South Africa. Thank you so much for your time and for that insight. Sibonelo Ncanana is the Human Rights Coordinator for Out LGBT Wellbeing, joining us virtually from Mthatha there in the Eastern Cape.